Hello guys, Troy Francis coming at you from West London, from Chelsea to be precise. We are on King's Road, and what I want to talk to you about is the fact that, regrettably, commitment to a woman kills desire. That is, commitment to a woman kills desire. It's a bitter pill to swallow, a bitter red pill to swallow, some people might say. Here's the dilemma, okay? You probably, I mean, not necessarily, I don't know, but probably a lot of dudes, you know, they kind of come to this space and really what they want to do is they want to find a girlfriend, they want to find somebody nice, and they want to be in a committed relationship. Now, you might not want that immediately, but perhaps, you know, thinking a bit longer term, that's what you want. Women also want the same thing. Women also want that, okay? They want commitment. They want to be in long-term relationships. A lot of women, you know, they don't really want to sleep around. You know, they don't really want to do the whole 304 thing, or at least if they do, they don't want to do it for a long time. You know, they hit a certain age and they're like, okay, right, actually what I'm looking for is something a bit more committed. I would say, you know, there's a small percentage of women who are into just partying and sleeping around and everything else. But I think, you know, probably the majority actually really what they're looking for is monogamy. But, and here's the rub, it gets a bit fucking boring. Okay, it gets a bit fucking boring for you, possibly, but it also gets a bit fucking boring for her. And that's when you're in trouble. That's when the shit hits the fan, okay? Because nobody likes being bored. This is the problem. Now, it seems to me that really what's happening is we're moving towards a situation where serial monogamy is the norm, okay? So not monogamy, but serial monogamy. So people tend to stay together for a period of time, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, something like that. Back end of a bus. 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And then they break up and then they move on to another partner. And this is something that happens a lot, particularly in sort of modern urban kind of environments like where we are now, like in London, New York, you know, all of these big Anglosphere metropolitan cities. And it seems to be a lot of the time facilitated by women, because you see, the thing is, guys, and I speak for myself here as well, you know, we tend to kind of get in the comfort zone, you know, with a girl, yeah, she's pretty cute, she's pretty hot, whatever, we have a good time, you know, maybe after a period of time, you know, the sex starts to die off, maybe it's not quite as red hot as it was originally, but, you know, whatever, nevertheless, it's still pretty good. It's good enough, you know? And I think guys are happy to sort of sit there in that comfort zone and not necessarily, you know, complain or kick up a fuss or want to change anything too much, because, you know, it's a bit of an effort, isn't it? It's a bit of an effort to break up with your partner and then, you know, go out there again and find somebody else and all the rest of it. Women, though, are a little bit more cutthroat. And this is why, when we look at the divorce statistics, something like 80% of divorces are initiated by women in the West, okay? Women are by far the most likely to end a relationship, more than men, okay? And so this is what you're up against, because you may want, you know, you've got that little craving in your heart of like, oh, I just want to meet that special girl, and it's going to be so beautiful, and it's just going to be me and her, and we're going to have a little cottage in the countryside, and, I don't know, count sheep or whatever the fuck you guys do. Which is great, it's very nice. But the problem is, when the rubber hits the road, and that familiarity bleeds into it, is she going to stick around? Because commitment, you know, you've given her that commitment that initially she wanted, but it actually leads to this lessening of desire, okay? Because we all know the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt, and unfortunately it really does, right? Familiarity breeds contempt, particularly if you're living together. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's bad enough if you're living separately. If you're living together, Christ almighty. I mean, there's no hiding place, there's no escape, okay? You know, you're in it. And if you're living together during lockdown, well, that's another story entirely. But, you know, if you're living together in normal times, that's pretty challenging. How do you keep that spark there? How do you keep that excitement there, okay? So, what I would say is I would caution you against having this utopian vision of eventual commitment, because for a start, the sad reality is most relationships end up failing. Particularly in this day and age, most relationships end up failing. That's the reality. And most of the time, they're ended by women, okay? And the reason that they're ended by women is because commitment breeds contempt, right? It gets a bit fucking boring, okay? Now, yes, there are things that you can do to maintain the, you know, the kind of excitement. Being aware of these dynamics is hugely important, because at least if you're aware of it, you can seek to mitigate it, okay? And sure, there are ways that you can mitigate it, but you are very much fighting an uphill battle. I think it was Paul from the Come On Man podcast who tweeted just yesterday something like, when do you get to relax in a long-term relationship? Never. And he's right, it's fucking difficult. Long-term relationships are playing the game on hard mode, okay? Because commitment leads to a falling desire, certainly in the woman. Maybe not so much for you, maybe for you, but certainly for the woman, okay? And it's an immutable law of the universe, and I don't think there's a solution to it, to be honest, because I think human beings, as I've said before, crave security and stability, yes, but we also crave novelty, all of us, men and women. And how do you get around that? Very hard, maybe impossible. So, be aware, be vigilant, and just, you know, if you are in a long-term relationship and things are starting to go stale, you know, look at things like the married red pill on Reddit, or, you know, talk to somebody like Ryan Stone, who knows a lot about this stuff, and maybe some ways to mitigate that. But, you know, if you're not, and you're thinking, you know, well, do I want to play the field for a bit? Do I want to get into an LTR? Just consider that the LTR may not be the wonderful dreamlike nirvana that you think it is. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to leave it now because I've got to get a bus. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notifications bell, and do subscribe to my free email list. The link is below. I'll see you guys again very soon.